Here we have Joey Zanaboni, play-by-play voice of the Fredericksburg Nationals. Welcome. What's going
Hey
on?
guys. Hey, thanks a lot for having me.
Of course,
Appreciate you guys getting me on.
of course. As some people know, Joey's the voice behind the Fredericksburg Nationals with, I'm sure everyone's seen them, the electric calls that have gone viral with, I would say, the past, like this season, definitely. I've seen a lot more than ever. But it's just there's nobody like you in baseball right now.
Thank you very much.
Of course. So, I mean, there's a lot that I want to get into, but just to start from the very beginning, how did you decide that you this is even something you wanted to do, like doing play-by-play baseball?
Yeah, I think somewhere my mom has a picture of me on a piece of first grade homework where it said, "What do you want to do?" I drew a picture of myself announcing a baseball game. And, I went through probably elementary school and probably most of high school figuring I would do it. Had some chances. I won a couple of sports opportunities, sports casting contests for kids when I was in middle school. Kind of worked for a radio station in high school, but as I got older and got to college, I just kind of wondered if it was really what I wanted to do. I was literature major in college, and I didn't know if sports announcing was kind of creative enough. I guess that was one thing. And I guess the other thing was I was really afraid of failure. I was afraid that if I went after my dream, I might fall flat on my face. There might be somebody out there that would say, you're not very good or not listen or whatever. And, I spun my wheels a little bit after college for about a year, just kind of bounced between a couple of jobs, kind of wondering, what is it that I want to do? And it was in that February after I graduated college, I was 22. And I believe that I heard a voice. Maybe it was an auditory hallucination. Maybe it's the voice of God, but it came in the form of Ken Wilson, who was the broadcaster of the St. Louis Blues and did some work with the St. Louis Cardinals when I was a kid. And I consider him to be essentially the perfect sports announcer. I consider him to be one of the greatest probably to ever do it. Just kind of out of the blue at about 2:30 in the morning, I heard his voice just very vividly, some of his calls, and I ended up going on YouTube and looking up a couple of his highlight reels. And honestly, I found myself on the floor crying. I found myself almost broken by it because I realized how close I was to not pursuing my dream. And so from that day forward, I said, I'm going to go after this with everything I can. I'm going to go in head first. And I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to take half measures. I'm going to do the games the best that I can do them and have the most fun that I can. And I'm always going to take the next opportunity, no matter what it is, whether it's small community college, whether it's random high school game, whether it's independent baseball. I'm going to take it and I'm going to make the most out of it. And that was really how I got my start in 2014. And, it's 2022 and I'm happy with how it's turned out.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. So, yeah, so you started like, I mean, you're still young to be doing like you have a lot.
How old do you think I
No, you said 20, you said 20. No, 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 no. I was just saying your career, like you have so much
am?
more to do moving forward. Like right now, who knows? Maybe we'll see you in the major leagues one day.
Yeah, I definitely hope so. I mean, that's my goal. And, I think that one thing that I can really speak to is that in this business, there's so many people who went to journalism school, who studied it in college, and then they start to take, that's really the common career path into doing minor league baseball and hopefully one day major league baseball. I'm really here to tell people who did not do that and who are even maybe well past the college years and still haven't really gotten into it. You can pretty much drop everything and do it if you're committed to it and you believe in the power of your own creativity and you have some determination. I think you can really go far.
Yeah, for sure. And you're proving that you're doing great.
Thank
But obviously, your style of broadcasting, like I mentioned before, is like no other. And I'm sure you know that everyone else that has ever heard you knows that. Where's the inspiration from that come? Because that just doesn't come. Obviously, you don't get taught to do that. That has to be you. So where did that come from, and what made you like go all in on that and say like I'm going to be different than anybody else?
In the first few years of my career, I never focused on, and I still don't, how many people are listening. I focused on the fervor and the energy of the people who did listen. And I could see how much they really loved some of the quirkier stuff, the stuff that's a little bit off the beaten path, and just the high energy and the fun. And I felt like that was more important than, how many people were listening or how big the opportunity kind of was. And so that investment in the personal and understanding the impact that you have on one person is really at the heart of what I do. And growing up for me, it'd have to be Ken Wilson with the Blues, the Cardinals, tail end of Jack Buck's career. There's a lot of sports announcers that I admire. I love Gus Johnson. I think he's probably the greatest American sports announcer right now. I love a lot of international stuff. I listen to Korean baseball, Taiwanese baseball, Japanese baseball, South American baseball, Mexican baseball, to get inspiration from those announcers. And I think that I do a lot. I read a lot of fiction. I read a lot of, novels and things. And it was my major in college. And if I had to say I have one thesis about American sports announcing in the last 30 years, it's that the announcers in popular fiction have become more popular and more well loved than the announcers who actually do the games. And so, kind of evaluating, Harry Doyle from Major League, Brockmeyer, even other internet based announcers who do play by play on clips like Bob Menery. I just basically saw how popular that was, the way that nestled into people's imaginations. And in a world that's increasingly a blur between fact and fiction, I felt like there was a hole in the market for someone to fill, basically to be almost that fictional sports announcer from the movies or from a different kind of reality. And just kind of seeing some of that stuff, some of those one-liners and things, the impact that they were having. I just decided to lean into it because I felt like there's a hole in the market, and really all I have to do is become the person who fills it. And I have the joy, I guess, for whatever reason. I just delight in going to the games enough that it doesn't feel like work for me to do it. And that's pretty much how I got here.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Obviously a lot of your videos, nice sunglasses by the way, a lot of your videos and a lot of your calls have made obviously on Twitter and social media and stuff. Has there ever been, do you pay attention to that stuff, and has there been one person or any players like in particular where you look at your phone and like you're like, wow, like I can't believe he saw that, or like do you ever get starstruck or?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think David Cohn followed me on Twitter. That was pretty cool. Big time fan of his announcing work. I would say the one thing that really ever brought me to tears, I would say it would have to go back to when I was first starting out. The first chance I ever got in minor league baseball was 2015. Team called the Orem Owls in Orem, Utah. And I flew out there about 2 weeks before the season. And when I walked in the door, basically that same day, they told me they wanted to do a promotion called Caucasian Heritage Night. And it was a really weird situation. And I was actually working at a historically black college at the time in Clarksdale, Mississippi, Coahoma Community College. Coahoma is an HBCU in the Mississippi Delta. And, I ended up resigning the position with the Orem Owls in protest of what I felt was a malicious and racist intent behind a really ill-conceived promotion. And I didn't really want to be in the headlines. I didn't really want to be Mr. Hero guy, whatever. And so I just resigned the job, and I, see you later. And, the next day after I quit, I woke up at a hotel in Salt Lake City, Utah, and there was a story in the Salt Lake Tribune that was covering this ill-conceived promotion. And it actually blamed me mistakenly and slanderously, blamed me for promotion's conception. And that story was picked up by USA Today, and it was picked up by Deadspin. And I had to reach out to them and make extremely clear how upset I was about having my character assassinated in the national media like that. And luckily, I had proof that I was opposed to Caucasian Heritage Night and that I was completely on the other end of things. And it was traumatic. It was really, something that almost broke me. It drove me into a despair, the likes of which I've not yet experienced and hope to never experience again in my life. But there was the seed of determination that was planted in that I said once the headlines had passed and all the whirlwind had passed around the media scrum around that and things, I said, they're going to remember me in the end for something different. And it took 4 years. I was working at a little college called the University of West Florida right after that. And it was 2019, spring of 2019. And USA Today ran an article that said, this ridiculous Division II baseball announcer deserves a major league job. And it was just about a video of one-liners that I had just put out on Twitter, and it had gone viral and all this stuff. And I remember I broke down crying. I honestly did, almost out of control. Because the article didn't say anything about all that stuff from Orem, Utah. It didn't say any of that stuff. And I emailed the person who wrote it, and I said, I know you didn't have anything to do with this. It was a different writer. But it's just funny to me that your article today is asking, where did this guy come from? Where did this guy, why is he doing it? Who is he? In this very section of this very national publication, you were leaving me to die. You were assassinating my character, and not just my character, but my personal reputation. You were doing that for your own viral purposes. Your newspaper wanted more clicks, and you followed an overly simplistic formula and misinformation, and you left me to die. You left my career to die. And today, you said I should be in the major leagues. And there was a degree of satisfaction that came with that, because I don't really want to be known for anything but my work. I don't really want to be a celebrity or a media guy or anything like that. I just really want to do the work, and for people to remember that. I was immensely proud of what I did in Orem, but I wanted to move on, and that showed that I did.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's crazy. How long did you say that was in between those two stories?
4 years.
Okay. Wow.
4 years, almost exactly to the month. That was June of 2015 in Orem, and then it was April of 2019.
Wow.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's an awesome story, Joey. And obviously, though, there's people on the other side who don't like your announcing style. What do you have to say to those people who are like constantly just bashing you and saying that this doesn't belong in the sport and this isn't blah, 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 all the haters? What do you have to say to them?
I hope every single one of your dreams comes true. I hope every single one of you get the opportunity to live your childhood dream like I have. I'm out here at Myrtle Beach right now, hanging out, game at 6 o'clock, showing what I represent. Not afraid to speak out for what I believe in, not afraid to lend a helping hand to those in need. And when I see other people, and a lot of them are really just frustrated sports announcers, they're not even really fans, and they're saying some things that are embarrassingly just sad. I feel bad for them, and my only message for them is is really this. I'll go ahead and paraphrase a great passage from literature, which is, if they were out in that water right now and they were struggling, I'd do anything to save them. I'd even die to save them. I just won't live for them.
Wow,
Well said.
Awesome.
very nice.
So right now, what do you call it? What would be your end goal? Your Joey's end goal in your broadcasting career. What's your goal? Is that the major leagues?
Well, yeah, my goal is the major leagues, but I believe I'm a small part in a greater unfolding. I think it was Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher in the 19th century, who said, "Become a lover of fate." And truly, that's what I am. I think my fate will be different than most, but my path to sports announcing has been different than most. I have a few goals. The major leagues is the top of it. ESPN 8, the Ocho is another one. But it just is one of those things where there's something larger at work. I truly believe that. It's the changing of human consciousness, the greatest publishing revolution in the history of civilization. People able to communicate at the push of a button. It's changed the way that people's minds are wired, and it's changing reality itself. And I think that what's made some of this stuff, these clips and things, so popular is that it's just the idea, whether it's in sports announcing or anything else. It's just the idea that there might be other realities out there. It appeals to us in the same way that these satellites that search for radio signals across the galaxy do. They're just looking for something different. The idea that there might be something else out there is, it's appealing to us. We have to know about it. And if I've given people some modicum of that, some little taste of that, then I think that that's really what my goal is. So that's I guess the larger one.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's like you were saying, like you just being the one different person can influence not even just the sports announcers that want to come up to be different, just anyone that wants to stand out and be different in whatever they do. Like you're succeeding in it. So if someone wants to go a non-traditional path and whatever it is, not even just announcing, you're an influence and inspiration for that. It's pretty cool.
You don't get rich by betting with the market. You get rich by betting against the market. That's really the biggest thing. Whatever people are doing, you should give heavy credence to doing the opposite, because it's just the way of the world. It doesn't really have anything to do with sports announcing. The market peaks and then it falls, and then you've got to be at a bottom. I think about the milk industry. When I was a kid, there were so many got milk ads, it was impossible to count. Mark McGuire, Serena Williams. And as I've gotten older and I've entered my adult years, it's funny because now the milk industry is kind of vilified, and it's sort of an odd thing, right? Joaquin Phoenix going up on the Oscars stage when he won the trophy and telling everybody to stop drinking animal milk. Oh, I don't have an opinion on it one way or the other. I personally love milk, but people don't want to drink it. It doesn't matter to me. It's just an observation about the market. What seems extremely popular today will seem unpopular tomorrow, but things usually cycle back. In the late 2000s, I believe ESPN even released, there's an article that I read about it, an interview with some executive who said that the one-liners by like Chris Berman, Dan Patrick, all those guys who made it really popular in the early 2000s, the 90s, and early 2000s, they said we're trying to get away from that. And in the 2010s, they gave way to just data, analytics, and things like that. And people throwing numbers at you left and right. And I just feel like I bought that style at the bottom when it had become disregarded. But now that numbers and things and analytics have overrun the entertainment aspect of sports announcing, now I'm benefiting.
Yeah. There you go. All right, you guys have any other questions for Joey?
Yeah. Okay.
No,
I
no.
got I got a question, Joey. When you eventually make it to the major leagues, because it's gonna happen, you're so damn good at your job. Is there like a dream partner that you want to work with? Have you ever thought of that? Like, man, like you're watching somebody like I'd like to work with him eventually one day. Former player, maybe a player who's right now.
It's a great question. I would have to say, for me, it would be Doris Burke. I would love to do something with Doris Burke at some point down the line. That would be one of them. Another dream partner of mine that actually came true was Mike Rooney, the college baseball analyst who's been on
Okay.
Squeeze Play here, and just had a chance to work with him at the Big 12 tournament. Just like a fun guy, like a nice guy and a fun guy, and somebody real. And I like that about Doris, and I like that about Mike, which is just that I don't really ever want to get to the point where it's like, hey, this person's not like a real person anymore. You know, they're just out there just kind of like spinning it for what other people think about them. And I just think the difference is subtle, but that's what I love about minor league baseball and what I love about, lower level college athletics and things like that, where it's really real people who are going out there and trying to record their thoughts on the game. And, I remember when I was in high school, me and some friends went down to Busch Stadium in St. Louis, and we had 4 tickets. There were only 3 of us. And then we met this guy, this indigent guy, this unhoused guy outside the stadium. And you know what? We just gave him the ticket, and we were sitting in pretty nice seats. We had a pretty sweet view behind the plate, and just sitting there with the homeless guy and watching the game was absolutely fascinating because he didn't really know anything about the players. To be honest, he didn't really know anything about the teams, but he quite literally lived the life around the stadium. He was somebody who was just pretty much drifting and living around the stadium. And we bought him dinner and watched the game with him. And I still look back on it extremely fondly. I still look back on it as one of those times where I actually went to a baseball stadium and really learned something about living. You can always learn something about baseball games, but it's harder and harder, I think, in an increasingly corporatized world of package Disney World type of experiences to go to a baseball stadium and learn something about real life. And I just think that regardless of who you're doing it with, that's really the challenge, is keeping them in real life, but on TV. And, there's a million people that I would love to work with. That's really the underlying philosophy, I guess, of trying to find meaning in it all.
Yeah. Amazing. All right. Joey, it was a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate you giving us time. Great getting to know you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Hey, thanks
Joey.
a lot,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys. And,
We're pulling
take
for
care.
you.
Yes, we'll
Well,
see you in
thanks.
major leagues one day.
Yes.
It really does. It really does mean a lot to me to have people kind of reach out and spread this stuff. I truly do believe that if this was in the major leagues and when it is, that it will be the most popular baseball announcing anywhere in the English-speaking world.
Yep.
And it really means something to me just to have people reach out. So I appreciate the patience. And sorry I couldn't catch up with you last weekend.
It's all right.
Thanks a lot for
We're good.
Of course. Thank you. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Take care.
Okay. Go get a
See
nice
you, Joey.
tan.
Bye now.
See, there you
Bye
go.
now, y'all.
Bye.